Everyone. Great. We've got a wasn't never know who's going to be able to make it, so it's always nice to see more faces. Great. Just excuse me while I do a bit of admin this side. Hopefully you guys have got your practice companions to hand. That's going to be useful. We'll refer to that a little bit soon, and then also hopefully you were able to print off or get a digital copy of the sheet music that I sent today. Hi Kimberly, hi Estelle. So if you weren't able to get a physical copy of that, or you don't have it in front of you, don't worry. I'm going to do a screen share with you so you can follow along that way too. But if you happen to have it with you, then it can be nice to have your own copy too. These, of course, the sheet music I'm referring to are things that you guys have shared with me. So it's your sheet music, which is always nice to have and kind of gives us a little bit of insight into how perhaps you might be practicing as well. So that's all good. Natalie from Brussels, fantastic. You were able to make it.
Hello. Yes,
Hi. Hi. We've got a beautiful picture of beautiful grass, spring grass, Natalie, for you.
I'm trying to I'm trying to show myself, but I just can't find. It's the first time I'm using this computer.
Take your time. In the meantime, the grass looks lovely too. So not as lovely as you, but it'll suffice in the interim. Hi, Timothy.
Good morning.
Good to see you. And Linda is Oh no, not Linda. Sorry, that I'm not sure. Somebody is driving. Is that? Can't see who that is. So we've just got a message saying somebody is driving. Coming up as the iPhone, a new iPhone. Congratulations on your new iPhone. But I'm not quite sure who that is. If you want to tell us,
I'm,
maybe Janet.
I'm driving.
You're
Kimberly's
driving.
driving.
Who's the other one driving? I'm assuming your husband is
Kimberly.
driving. Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly. Hi. In any case, I'm glad that you can all join. So welcome. And actually, seeing as we have some new people today who weren't able to make our first foundational training, if we just want to take a moment to introduce yourselves, that would be wonderful. So let's see, I think Chad, you couldn't make Wednesday. If you would just give us a brief kind of hello, where you're from, mini synopsis of your cello journey to date, that would be great.
I'm Chad Mitchell, living in Vermont, Richmond, Vermont. And my cello journey is, I will use the tortoise and the hare analogy. I'm the tortoise. I try to make little steps forwards, but hopefully I can try to practice a little bit more regularly. And here I am today.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. Great to see you. I think the tortoise analogy is a good one to have. It's generally it seems like that's the way to go, right? But versus the hare. So we'll take the tortoise. And Amy, hi. If you'd like to just give a brief intro, thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy, and I'm in Boise, Idaho. And let's see, I picked up the cello as an adult, and it's been kind of a long journey with several interruptions, and I'm kind of getting back to basics because I think as an adult, you want to just play all the things right away, and maybe don't take the time to build your technique appropriately. And so I've been stepping back for the last few years and just really working on rebuilding those foundations.
Fantastic. Great to have you, Amy, here.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
And Kimberly, you couldn't make our Wednesday session. If you don't, if it maybe now's not a good time because you're driving, I want you to focus on driving and not, yes, yeah, and not crash. So you drive, but we'll get to you later. And let's see. I think that was everybody. I think it must be Carla with the new iPhone because I'm realizing I recalled that she's driving. Actually, Carla is driving to San Diego at the moment, which is rather exciting, but it's quite a long way because she's driving from Wisconsin. So I'm glad that you could audit Carla too. So welcome everyone. Out of curiosity, any feedback so far on has anybody tried doing a breakdown of a piece that you're working on, looking at it, trying to put it in red, yellow, green? I know Estelle did one. She sent that to me. Has anybody else done that? has anybody found any of the practice companion ideas that they've kind of latched onto, going, yes, I'm going to do a bit more of that? I'm hoping we've got a few journalists among us. Yes, Linda's raising her hand. Great. So just a reminder that the practice companion is there for you to dip into and kind of pick your favorite candy that's going to be most helpful. So do that, and we're going to be referring to the practice companion a bit today as well. Also, just to let you know that for our first studio class, which is when basically the whole of the meeting is dedicated to hearing a few of you playing in a bit more depth and giving feedback to you. The first one, April 25th, at the moment we have Linda and Steve playing for that. So, and Linda is actually going to be playing some sections from Fauré Elégie, which we're going to be looking at today in terms of Estelle's breakdown. And Steve will be playing a piece that he wrote himself, actually, called Serenity, which is really lovely. He just shared it with me the other day, and so we get to have the composer playing his own composition and talking about it, which will be special, very special. So, without further ado, let's jump into some of these challenges that we've been looking at. And again, we're going to start with Estelle's breakdown of her Fauré Elégie. Out of curiosity, can I have a raise of hands of who might be familiar already or have heard or know a little bit about the Fauré Elégie? Okay.
I've heard it.
You've heard it? Okay, that counts. That counts. Great. In fact, that's really great. I thought it might be nice to actually do a little bit of listening today to start with. So let's actually hear a recording of the Fauré Elégie. I'm going to put Estelle's... no, actually, hopefully you've got Estelle's breakdown in front of you there. I'm going to play the Elégie. As we listen to it, this is a French cellist, Nadège Rochat, playing. As we listen to it, if you could just follow it along and maybe annotate it a little bit, make your own notes about where you may choose to make the sections. You can see in Estelle's version, she's numbered them very nicely in blue. Maybe you would choose something different. So you could just kind of listen along, decide, do you agree with that? Would you have done something different yourself? And also the color coding, what for you might be a red, really difficult zone. Of course, probably for all of us, it's, if you haven't played it before, it's all going to look pretty difficult, but maybe some things stand out as being especially difficult or less difficult. Hi, Judy. Good to see you. Steve, yes.
Was this in the email attachment?
Yes.
What's it called?
So in the reminder email that you got this morning, there were 4 pieces of music that were sent, and this one is Estelle's Fauré Elégie.
Okay, I guess I didn't see it, but I'll find it.
Okay, cool. And yes, so let's have a listen to this lovely version by Nadège Rochat. Great. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Okay. So here we're coming back to the opening statement again. Notice it's triple piano. When we had it in the opening, it was forte. At bar 6, it was pianissimo, just double piano, and now we have it pianissimo, triple piano. As this section finishes, the piano is going to take over. It has the melody, cello has accompaniment. As the eighth notes finish in the cello, basically the parts switch. The piano becomes the accompaniment and the cello has the melody. Gorgeous opening again, up an octave with the stormy piano parts with the fast moving notes. Dropping an octave to the lowest note in the cello. This is like a memory of a memory. Somewhat like the melody we had at bar 8, but also different. Sorry, at bar 30. Okay, so a beautiful piece of music if you're not familiar with it, or even if you are, maybe it's nice just to revisit it a bit.
Putting money aside and
sorry.
building wealth that earns you freedom
Okay.
are two completely...
YouTube ads playing at me. So just to preface this piece or to think about it, if you're unaware, an elegy is a tribute to typically somebody that's passed on. And I think this piece just really, which we'll be revisiting with some of Linda's playing on the 25th again, is a really great kind of exploration of the kaleidoscope of emotions that we may experience in losing somebody, not only in terms of tragedy and sadness, but also in terms of sweet nostalgia and some hope, and then also the kind of the anger, the storm. It really has everything. So we'll come back and talk about this a little bit more on the 25th, but let's have a look now, focusing on Estelle's breakdown. And I'm going to share my breakdown page that she has shared with me. And Estelle, congratulations, you did a beautiful job with this. I really like the way you even managed to find these little dots. I don't know if you were using Fourscore to do it, but yeah, great. Like these little dots that I'd used when I did my example. Where am I? There you are. There's Estelle. Okay, so let's see what she does. So we have this first melody that basically is just it's kind of like a descending scale with a little bit of ornamentation, right? It comes down. We're just going to talk through a little bit about the form of this piece. So this melody basically goes from this E flat here above middle C down to this C below middle C, the octave below. So it makes sense, I think, that this is section 1, right? And then it repeats, but now it's pianissimo, so it would make sense that this is section 2, and that we then have a section 3. So I think in terms of breaking this down into sections and deciding how you're going to practice it in these sections, this makes absolute sense, Estelle. I think that's great. This third section is perhaps then becomes a little bit more nebulous as to, well, how long should that section be? And as you're trying to figure out how, if everybody could please put themselves on mute, just to avoid any feedback for now, that would be great. There you go. So as you're doing this, if you have a look on page 12 of the practice companion, you've got some ideas of how you might figure out where different phrases end or how to break up the section. I'm looking at page 12 here from the practice companion, and I've said just underneath the first purple block, it says a great starting point is to just think 4 to 8 measure sections, and actually that's basically what Estelle has done here. She's made each section, except for the very first section, which has a 1 bar of piano intro and therefore is 5 bars. After that, sections 2, 3 and 4 are all 4 bars. So that makes a lot of sense with this piece. That's certainly one default way we can always go with. I also wrote underneath that on page 12 that natural phrasing can easily be likened to the cadence of speech. So the way we talk, and if we have a pause, the pause could be a great place to go, okay, that's the end of a phrase. A pause doesn't have to be literally a silence, it could just be a longer note. And if we have a look here, sure enough, Estelle's end of section 3 finishes with a half note in bar, where are we? That's bar 13, right? So here she's got a half note in bar 13. So it kind of creates the feeling of a pause. That would make sense to go on. Another thing that we can look for is melodic contour. We'll get to that in a second. So here's section 4, and section 4 also finishes with a longer note. Again, that makes a lot of sense. And hey, here we are, home ground. It's our opening melody. Let's call it section 5. It's got triple piano. I think that's all excellent, Estelle. And with the caveat that, again, there is no wrong way of doing this. The point of doing this is to break it into sections and give ourselves smaller sections to practice. Of course, we can do it in a more refined way, and we're always aiming for that. But even if it's not the ideal breakdown, it's fine. You're still breaking it down. It's still going to be easier to practice in sections. So please don't be afraid of like doing it wrong. I'm just trying to show you ways to make it even better in the way that you can break it down. Section 6, yes, we've got section 5 finishing with another long note. We've got a big pause there. This is definitely something new. This is where I said that actually the piano takes over. The piano has, by the way, if we had the full score here, which is always good to look at too, that you would see that the piano has what the cello has at bar 30. So this melody at bar 30, where we go, da yam da di da dum ba da di ya di da dum ba da da di da da di da 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 ya di da. All of that happens starting in this bar here, bar, what's that, bar 24. Okay, so we've got some eighth notes running along. I may have made this whole section 6 to so bar 23 all the way through to bar 29. I might have made that all one section, but each to his own. It's fine to do it in 2 sections too. The reason that I would have made it 2 sections, if I had made it 2 sections, would have been if I thought that one of the sections was considerably harder and needed more attention. But anyway, it's fine to do it this way too. And maybe Estelle, as you go on, you'll feel like actually you can make this all one big section. It's up to you. 6 and 7 could be joined together. So section 8, yep, definitely that's our melody. That's a new section. Great. And hey, there's a little pause here. It's like a little breath in the cadence of speech, right? You finish something and then you say something else, so you finish it. And then you say something else. Here's the new phrase. We've got a pause. Let's call this section 9. All right. And then that takes us to the next page. And Estelle chose to start section 10 in the second beat of bar 34. I think I might have just left that all the way, made all of this a section 9 down to the downbeat. But it's fine to do this, and again, especially if Estelle, you felt like this is a tricky corner for you, that would be another reason to make that its own section. And then we have these kind of increasingly speeding up notes, right? We've got smaller and smaller notes. This is the storm, of course, it's fortissimo. This is the anger, and definitely makes sense to make this a new section here. I think I probably would have made sections 11 and 12 one section, but again, if that's a tricky bit, and I know Estelle, because we had a lesson together recently and this was a tricky section, so I think that your choice to make that into its own section at 12 with these D flats is a great one. And then we have the scales, right? Scales coming up here, scales wiggling around the place, up and down, turbulence, turbulence. Yes, let's call that section 13. That brings us back to section 14, which is clearly a restatement of the opening, but now it's double up forte, and it's extended with these E flats, D flat, C, E flat, D flat, C, E flat, D flat, C, going down, passing through the octaves, passing through this tremendous range to this somewhat defeated or maybe accepting piano, C, down here. And then section 15, this is similar to our bar 30 melody, but it's also got a slightly different melodic contour, different feeling to it. And so let's call that section 15. I think that's fine. You could, Estelle, I probably would have personally made this section starting at bar 47 go all the way to the end. Actually, I would have made 15, 16 section go all the way to the end, because this music here, the da, we have da, and then here da da dum da da dum da da dum basically it's all the same kind of material, and because of that, I would make it that all one section. But again, there is no absolute on that. It's fine to do it differently, and I think you did a fantastic job with that, Estelle. So bravo, and I hope that made sense because it was a very quick run through of it. Did it? First of all, Estelle, did that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay. Good. Any questions from anybody about the breakdown, Estelle's breakdown? Great. Okay. Excellent. Let's go on then to. Hopefully that kind of gives you a few more ideas about how you might break down your piece. Yeah, Estelle, you also did the color coding, and that's just personal to you, so I'm not going to make any comment on that. It's, you know what's difficult for you. Red representing the most difficult, yellow stretch zone, green more comfortable for you. So let's have a look at another example of a challenge, and I'd like us to have a look at Timothy's example, please. This is the Bach G Major Courante, and let me get that up on here for you. So his C Major Courante, and he asked he described one of his problems with it, one of his hurdles was intonation, which I'm sure we can all relate to. So let's have a look at his score here, and I'm sure we can also all relate to his score, which very easily gets crowded, right? It's so we have these lessons, we have these ideas, we write stuff down, and before we know it, we've got 500 different things that we have to think about for each note. I see Timothy laughing to himself. Okay, so you're not alone, Timothy. We all do this, but it's good, and thank you for sharing your score with me, because it's, I think we can all relate to it, and it's good just to take a moment to realize how visually overloading that can be. Timothy, I was wondering, do you actually have a blank score of this anywhere? Because if not, I can share a score that I have, which is blank, with you. Do you want to just take yourself off mute for a sec?
I don't.
Okay, so let me just share a blank score. And then what I would suggest doing, and this is true for all of us, is when you start a new piece, make several photocopies of it, and make sure that you always have one that's blank.
Yeah, I did that at the library the other day, but I don't have a completely pristine one.
To start with, right? Okay,
Right.
so yeah, I'll just send you a copy. That's no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So
But Sophie, could you send us all a copy?
yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send you all the stuff that we're doing. So I'll send you like the recording of the Nadej Rochat as well, in case you'd like to listen to that again for the allergy. So I think it's really great to have different copies, because, and we'll kind of explore this more as we're breaking down things. Whenever we have a particular topic that we're working on, like intonation, it's great to have a score specifically for that. If you're working on rhythm, we have a score specifically for that. For example, with rhythm, you can then put in speech cues or mark in subdivisions, right? But the moment we start to do rhythm and intonation and ideas for memory and phrasing and bowing and fingering, and suddenly it's just too much. If any of you have Fourscore, which is a digital app, that's fantastic. You can create different layers, and you can like hide and show the layers. So that's what I have now, and I swear by it. It's just, it makes my life so much easier, because I always have a blank copy where I just hide all my layers, and then if I want to, I can say, okay, I'm going to look at my layers for whatever it might be, right? For form and analysis, or for ideas of different interpretation, whatever it might be. So that helps. But if you don't have Fourscore, if you don't have that digital thing, which is not expensive, by the way, it's really, really good. But if you don't have it, and you just don't feel comfortable with it, photocopies work totally fine too. So that's just a little side point. But let's have a look at this for intonation, and let's also grab our intonation page from the practice companion. This is on page 16. So on page 16 in the practice companion, you've got a dedicated intonation page, and starting with Pablo Casal's famed quote, "Intonation is a question of conscience." So, you know, should be in tune. Okay. Jonathan, you had a question?
Oh, I was just going to add to what you were saying, because I use Fourscore sometimes for that reason. But I have, I also have a lot of books like the expensive Baron Writer editions. So I bought off Amazon those like clear vinyl sheets that they use in school. And I also discovered they make Post-it notes that are entirely clear. So what I do is I mark them and I put them on the score without damaging the paper for like practice, and then I'll take them off when I don't need them anymore. So that's an option for the analog folks.
Brilliant. Yeah. Where did you find those clear Post-it notes?
On Amazon. I'll find the link and I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh,
shortly.
brilliant! Thank you. Yeah, that sounds great. And it's lovely to have the paper version. I love real books and paper versions of things too. So, yeah. So let's have a look at this page 16, and in the box in the middle you can see that I've tried to highlight 4 different ways that we can think about intonation. So I think generally when we have an issue of some sort, we tend to default to one way of trying to sort it out. So if it's intonation, we might say, oh, it just doesn't sound right, I'm just going to try and make it sound right? So that would be auditory. But we can be, even with auditory, we can be more specific about how we break it down. And the suggestion that I give here, the first one, is ringing tones. This is something that we'll revisit a little bit with our scales and arpeggios section next month. But even here, if we look at Timothy's score, we can see that we have a lot of notes that correlate to open strings. That's basically what our most ringing tones that I'm referring to are, right? So in other words, A's, D's, G's and C's. So what I would suggest to do, and sure, it's a little tiny bit of extra work, but very little compared to actually the outcome, right? What I would suggest doing is identifying any note that is a C, G, D or A first. So you could, let's kind of stick with our dots, seeing as I have them here, make them a bit smaller. So like, let's say, okay, I'm going to make all the C's in green. I'm going to just make them green. So I would say, okay, we've got a green C, a green C, a green C. That's an open C, so that one doesn't count because that's the open C that we're going to be cross-referencing with all of these other C's. There's a C, there's a C. Of course, this can be done analog, right? Let's find these C's. Let's just have a look at the first phrase this way. All the C's. Okay, good. And in the meantime, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of C's in this piece. Okay, oh yeah, it's in C major. That makes sense. Let's stick with these colors, seeing as they're here. And let's go with yellow for our G's. Okay, here is a G. Any more G's? There's a G. There's a G. There's a G. That's an open G. That's our cross-reference G. So I'm basically highlighting the G's that are not the open string G, right, and are not played on the string of the ringing tone name. Those are I'm just going to go up to this C here. So then let's try the same with, let's choose a different color because that's similar to Timothy's fingering color. So let's go with purple, and I'm going to go for some D's. Okay, where are my D's? There's a D. There's a D. There's a D. That's an open D. That one doesn't count. There's a D. Oh, that doesn't count. Take that one away. That's it. Okay, do I have any A's that are not played on the A string? I'm going to play this A on an a open A string. I believe you do that too, Timothy, right? This A is open string, yeah. I think you're also playing this one as an open A, is that correct? This one is open A too, yeah. Okay, so then in that case, it wouldn't, I wouldn't have any A's here. That said, if you are doing that one as a stopped note, then of course you would mark it as an A to be cross-referenced with the open A string. So let's assume that maybe some of you did want to play that on the D string, then I would mark that one too as an A. So that's the way I would prepare the score. And you know, it's taking me a bit more time because I'm talking it through, although it did take me probably about a minute and a half, if that, to do that, maybe a minute. So not a lot of time. And then the way that you would practice it is just to do it out of time. This is again assuming you're practicing just the first version of our intonation page, which is auditory listening. Very, very important. I would play the C, and then I'm going to cross-reference it with my open C string and check that I'm really in the center of that C. And if it's really, really centered, it's going to ring more, hence why it's called ringing tone. So if I'm flat or sharp, it doesn't ring as much as when it's dead center, and hopefully that's picking up a little bit in the microphone, that it really rings afterwards. So part of the way that you're going to be checking that it's in tune is by listening for the ring of the note itself. The other way you can tell is often actually the corresponding open string, in this case the C, will slightly buzz, will slightly move as well. So you can look for that kind of that activity in the correlating string too as you play it. So I would do that, and then when I get to the G, again finding the center of the note, cross-referencing with the open G. If it's flat, sharp, in tune. Same with the open, with the D in the second full bar, and on. So that's basically the way to practice the ringing tones and isolating each note in turn. You can also play them in small groupings, so to make sure that the spacing of the hand is correct. And that really brings us to the second idea on page 16, which is this idea of visual, using the visual or the tactile as well, 3, the feel of it, to check your intonation. So for example, between the first 2 different notes, you've got a C to a G, and they're both ringing tones. But rather than just practicing each one individually and then the 4th finger, I want to make sure that my spacing from the C 2nd finger to the G 4th finger is correct. And to check that 2 to 4 is correct, I need to feel the stretch. So that's 3, the tactile thing. I need to feel the stretch between the 2 to the 4. I'm going to take the screen off so that you can see me a bit better. So I need to feel the tactile stretch between the 2 and the 4. First position, by the way, is probably the most difficult position to actually play in tune. I'm seeing some nods of agreement, yeah. So what we tend to do back here is go, okay, well up here I play like this. That feels pretty comfortable. I'll just do that down there too. Except for it's out of tune, because when you're closer to the nut, the fingers have to be further apart. So first position is uncomfortably stretched out, actually, unfortunately. So here's an example in first position, 2 to 4, where we have to stretch more than we think to really be in tune. Not tremendously so, but a bit enough for it to be a thing and for it to be out of tune if you don't think about it. So then we know that, but let's practice cross-referencing now the open strings while also feeling that stretch. Here I go. Notice I've still got my second finger down here just to feel that stretch. Okay, now I feel like I know the stretch. I know that they both notes are in tune with their correlating open strings, with the ringing tones. I'm going to keep going. There's another C to check. Make sure the 4 stretches and on. The last suggestion for intonation, which we will be revisiting again in the scales, in our scales and arpeggios, and generally I'm sure, is the conceptual analytical approach to intonation, meaning being aware of what the interval is between fingers, and also if you're shifting, the option of a finger substitution. But so for example, our C to G, well, that's a perfect fourth, but I'm not actually talking about it in terms of a perfect fourth. I mean, between my second finger to my fourth finger, what's the stretch there? What interval am I going from a C to a G? So to do this, I'm gonna think about it as if it was on the same string. So I'm gonna bring the C, second finger, across to the D string. Think of it as an F. F, instead of C, right? F to G is a whole step, or a major second. That's the interval I'm interested in knowing. So I need to know that in first position, I need to stretch a whole step between the 2 to the 4. And it's first position, so it needs to be a little wider. That can be applied anywhere, but knowing what the distance is between the fingers that you're shifting or that you're changing between even can be very, very helpful. The point is that it's multi-pronged, right? Intonation, it doesn't just have, there's lots of different ways we can think about this, and all of them can help. The idea of the visual, the tactile, the conceptual, everything that's not auditory, everything that's not just relying on hearing, is that we are measuring. We are measuring with our eyes, we are measuring with our feeling, and we are measuring with concept, with understanding the concept, knowing how far we have to move. When we measure, we gain a relationship between two notes. We don't just have an isolated, oh, well, this is in tune, this is in tune, yeah, that's in tune. See how my fingers are just kind of are plopping down anywhere without measuring to the next note, measure to the 1, measure to the 4, measure open. But when I play open, keep the hand close to the string, because I need to know where the 4, which was the last note I played, where I'm going from that 4, I'm going to go actually to a 3. So I want to think 4 to 3, even though it's interrupted by an open string. So there are relationships, right? It's basically about finding relationships between the notes, which of course then helps us have a much more sense of flow through the music, through the phrases. We're not just playing isolated, yay, my E flat is in tune, but hey, I've got this whole phrase connected, one note to the next. I get how my E flat is going to be in tune because the note before it was in tune, and so on. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Any questions about that? Are you okay, Natalie? I saw you coming and going a bit there, but we can see you now. So, any questions from anyone? Okay. Okay. Let us go on to another challenge. This was a challenge that was submitted by Natalie, and it is the Bach G Major Courante. and she wrote to me to share that she finds the coordination between the left hand and the right hand a real challenge in this piece, in particular when she shifts to third position. So let's have a look at her score and see how we might be able to help her. Okay, so here is Natalie's G Major Courante, and again, I love seeing your scores. Thank you for sharing them with me. It really gives a sense of how you're working, actually. So in pink here, I have highlighted 2 spots that Natalie asked about. And in each case, she is in third position, right? Because her first finger is on the G. So this is third position. This is actually extended third position because she needs to stretch a whole step from the G to the A with her second finger. So she's going to go 1, extended 2, 4, back to extended 1. And then down here, the same notes actually, 4, 2, 4, and then that extension and extended third back to 1. And as Natalie very astutely observed, the tricky thing about this is that you are in first position before each of these places, and then you suddenly have to leap to extended third position, which makes it really, really tricky. Okay, I am going to share with you her video. Okay, let me just grab that up for you. So Natalie was our first brave person that actually shared a video of herself playing very well. I hope that more of you will feel comfortable doing this in the future. I promise it will be helpful and everybody will be supportive. It will be hopefully a really great experience for you to do it. Here's Natalie playing that little corner. So starting from the beginning through those 2 spots that I pointed out. Awesome, and I'm actually going to play it one more time because it's short and to give you a real chance to focus in on those 2 spots that Natalie had picked
Sophie,
out.
we weren't seeing that video, just FYI.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot to hit share. Hang on, let me share that with you. Okay, thanks, Steve. Here it is again, in any case, and do follow along with the music and keep in mind those 2 spots, right? One was in the second bar, where she has the first finger on the G, and the second was in the second line, the second bar, where she again moves to extended third. So here we go. Great, thank you, Natalie. So, Natalie, can you just confirm that I have understood your question correctly? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
And there's even the third group where there's a string crossing, which makes things even more difficult from the C to the B. The third.
Ah, yes. Okay.
That can be considered as the worst. It's the most difficult.
Yes,
thing.
yes. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully you have that music in front of you. I want to keep so that you can see me here. But I think a couple of things, Natalie. One is that in both the places that you highlighted, in the second bar and in the second bar of the second line, first line and second bar, there's an open string right before you have to shift. So that gives us a great opportunity to get the left hand deliberately into place while you're playing the open string. So thank you, Bach. That doesn't always happen, right? But that's really good. But what it means is that you need to be consciously doing it, right? So as you're playing the open string, your hand needs to be going ahead of time onto the next note. And that's something that we often don't do. There's some exercises that we're going to be looking at that can help with that. But if I just play the second bar, so as you play the G, your first finger is going to land on the G. Now, to make that happen more in a way that we can measure it, thinking of the measuring when we shift, you can also think, hey, if I was in first position, I would play the G with my fourth finger, right? So the reason that I'm thinking that is because I can use finger substitution. In other words, think about, hey, if my old position, first position, I would play that G with a 4. So now, while I'm playing my open G string, I'm going to keep, first of all, my fourth finger very close to the string so that it's only just above it. I'm feeling that stretch to the fourth finger in first position. See, it's just above. And then I can even do some practicing where I just literally look at it, look at the fourth finger, use the visual help. So look at the fourth finger, play it, then move quickly to a first finger in that same spot. And there it is. So you can use the visual and the finger substitution to help you. Fourth finger over the G without playing, quick shift to the 1. And as you feel more comfortable with that, perhaps you do it with your eyes closed. So then you're just thinking more tactilely. Okay, how does it feel? There's the stretch. I'm not actually playing it, but the fourth finger is in place. And now I'm shifting to a 1. And that, to get the shift really accurate is of course its own work too. So you've got to get the left hand there in time, and you also have to get it in tune. But I would use those methods to practice, primarily because you're already playing it very close to in tune for you. I would just think about moving the left hand while you're playing the open string. So you're playing the open string and your hand is moving and down in place. So you get the first finger down. Does that make sense, Natalie, for that first spot? Great, okay. Feel free to unmute yourself, Natalie, as well.
Sorry, you just need anticipation.
Anticipation, yeah, just exactly.
Lots of anticipation.
Yes, and then the next line, I would have the fourth finger again, very close, exactly the same as we did, very close to the string, not like this, but close, close, close. Move the first finger to the G, and then stretch to a B. So there's a whole sequence of steps to get that B in tune, right? We go fourth finger over the G, move to a 1, stretch to a B, play. And here for the C to the B, you just have to make sure that you keep that extension open. What we often do is squeeze our thumb when we have an extension, so make sure your thumb is free when you go from the C to the B. So let's try that one more time, going through the steps. This is the last beat of the preceding bar. So keep the hand close to the fingerboard, 4 over the G, switch to a 1, extend to a 4, play. Now, the other thing is that, again, this all needs to happen within within 1/16th note A, because you've only got that A to get it in place. So, which means that you have to be, while you're playing your A, you have to be doing all of this. As as you're playing the A, your hand is close to the D string. You switch to the first finger, extend to the 4, and then play. And we need to get the 4th finger down. So it's not surprising that you find it tricky. Okay, there's a lot of steps, right? Let's do it. So all of this has to happen on that A. What you could do is maybe just take the A, start it at the point to give yourself more time to do all these different steps. You're going to play a really long A. As you're playing this A, all this stuff is going to happen. Okay, so you're going to play the A. Let's do up, down, up. So I'm at the point, long A, fourth finger over the G, switch to a 1, extend, put the 4th finger down, play. And gradually build it up. But it's very important to do all of these steps without any panic, right? So that we break it down, we have each step in turn, and we do it in a kind of embrace the journey, it's okay way, because that's how our muscles actually learn. And I feel like the putting the finger down before you play the B with the bow is also crucial. If your left hand is late, it's not going to work. The left hand has to be down before you play. So left hand, then right hand, always. When you feel like you understand the sequence of steps well, you can also move to catching the string before you play, like this. So I've caught the string here with my 4th finger, in other words, put the 4th finger down, and then I'm going to have a little bit of silent wiggle in the bow, meaning I'm able to wiggle the string without making a sound. And then I play. 4th finger down. See, as I get more comfortable with it, I can make that move much more smoothly. But notice how I'm training my left hand to be ready before the bow. How many times do we do it comfortably? 5. Okay, 5. Yeah, 5 is the secret number. Neurologically, it seems like if we can do it 5 times well in a row, that's great. What we tend to do is once, we're like, oh, thank God, I've done that. Right, let's go and get a coffee. But actually, we have to do it. Once you've got it, fantastic. Now do it 4 more times in a row. And then take your well-earned break, because you'll be so much more likely to remember it when you come back. But do push yourself through doing it 5 times rather than, oh, it's not right, it's not right, it's right, yes, go. No, do it 5 times. Okay. Great. So, Amy, I'm sorry we didn't have time to get to your one today. Are you able to join us on Wednesday?
I think so, and that's okay, because I'm going to try to do the color coding with it and send it back.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. So we'll definitely get to yours and others that have been sent in as well for Wednesday. If you still have something that you haven't sent me, for anybody that hasn't sent me something, feel free to do that as well. We may not be able to get to it in the group session, but I'm happy to send a few notes back for that. I know Judy and Janet and Amy and Jonathan have all sent things through, so we'll make sure to get to those next time. Great. Okay, well, any questions? Okay, excellent. Well, happy practicing, everybody. Have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday if you're able to join. It's good to see you, Natalie. I'm glad you could join us today. And I'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
Bye.